Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I've got something special. I've got a new speaker review that I'll be doing in-house, and you may have seen this model before from my Capital Audio Fest coverage. This is the Praiseworthy speaker, and it is quite a cool unit, both visually and sonically, and how it is set up. It's extremely overbuilt with probably the heaviest, densest cabinet I ever did see on a bookshelf speaker. You could call it a bookshelf, but one glance and you can see it's so much more than that. It takes a custom stand specifically designed for the speaker. Take a look at this shot here and you can see how the speaker unit attaches to the stand, with the connections being made through the pre-mounted pins in the stand. Now that's some pretty genius and thought-forward design if you ask me, as keeping the cables and the binding post on the bottom of the stand will certainly help not only with clutter, but just overall appearance and presentation as well. And here's another fun fact about it. What you don't see is that there's actually a second woofer inside the cabinet firing behind the primary woofer for further output. There's not much stuff on the market like this. You may recall from my previous video also that the designer of this speaker is Percy Chase, and Percy is just recently got his company off the ground, but this is a design he's been working on for years, and it's finally coming to fruition. He was nice enough to share this with me, and I thought it was a really cool product when I saw it at the show, so I certainly wanted to help him get some more attention, because I thought it was worthwhile, or dare I say, worthy, pun intended. And so I had the opportunity to test it out at home for about a whole month, as Percy was incredibly generous to me with this opportunity. Looking at the original video here again, you'll probably remember that Percy had a few different designs, a couple different colors, and most importantly, different drivers. The model that I'm featuring here uses an AMT tweeter, whereas some of the other designs that he had at the show use a more traditional dome. I asked him to send over the AMT version just because I thought it'd be a little bit different, as AMTs are generally more rare in most speaker designs, at least when compared to domes. So I wanted to see how that would differ versus the dome model that I heard at the show. So now it's right about time that we start talking about sound and how the Praiseworthy speaker, specifically this AMT version, did perform in my room and in this review. So here we go. In the meantime, you'll enjoy some footage of me playing a video game, as that's one of the few things I can post on here without getting slammed by copyright on YouTube. And by all means, I encourage you to enjoy a good laugh watching me get my ass handed to me in Stellar Blade, because I'm bad at Souls-like games. Anywho, we'll start talking about the music experience, then a little bit of watching, like movies or TVs, and then, obviously, video games, as you see here. Music listening on the Praiseworthy speaker, in a word, is good, with a caveat. Now, I am going to give a little disclaimer here. This is not a release model speaker. Percy is still working on tweaking a few things by his own admission, so we're going to play fair with that in mind. The first thing that I'm going to say about this speaker that it does particularly well is the highs, and that has a lot to do with the tweeter selection. Percy's using an AMT tweeter, and it's funny because I'm generally not the biggest AMT fan, at least in general. This tweeter and this speaker with Percy's implementation stands to change that. This tweeter claps. It's super detailed, but not fatiguing. It managed to push into these levels of detail, generally to a point where I would expect to start getting fatigued in a few minutes, yet it didn't, which is probably about some of the best praise that I can give to it. And I think part of the reason for that is because the other trick up the Praiseworthy speaker's sleeve is that this is a fully active design. Praise the audio gods. You won't find no coil packs, inductors, crossovers, or PCBs inside this cabinet. No, sir. Fully active, and Percy uses a mini DSP to control the crossovers as of now. So I was running these speakers, of course, bi-amped, which would be necessary to run something fully active. So another fun little feature. The tweeter seems to really benefit from this because there's just nothing getting in the way of its maximum potential when it comes to detail retrieval. Bass, while not tremendously amazing, is certainly well delivered by this speaker. The dual woofer design is certainly going to help with that. Though I would say the tweeter is certainly stronger in this than the woofer is. I did encourage Percy a little bit to explore some different options with woofers just to see what can be done, as I think it pulls ahead. And beyond that, the only real criticism I have for the sound of the praiseworthy speaker, or at least this incarnation of it, is going to be when it comes to mid-range. Bass is decent, treble is awesome, but mid-range is a little lacking, and I think that just has to do with some tweaks to where the crossover point should be, and how this woofer and that tweeter blends. Getting a good match in this area is crucial, as mid-range is one of the things that we're most sensitive to, and I think, at least from what I've learned in my experience, it can be one of the more difficult things to reproduce. However, if that can be addressed and that mid-range can be brought up to par with how good the treble is, or at least close to it, this speaker will really start to stand out. And considering he's not done yet, I'm excited to see what comes in that department. But to give you something to relate to for now, female vocals, especially the real higher registers, sound awesome on this speaker. And higher-pitched brass instruments like horns or trumpets, take for example in the opening of the Apollo 13 soundtrack, fantastic. Meanwhile, the lack in these speakers is expressed on the opposite end as male vocals suffered because of what's going on with the mid-range. As for their performance when it comes to content like movies or games, take a quick listen.
Before we even get to the alpha.
Now, of course, it should be noted that was recorded using a quick shot on my iPhone with no microphone worth mentioning, of course, just the built-in mic. So definitely take that with a grain of salt, and take it with a second grain of salt because we're trying to post an audio clip on YouTube and I'm breaking my own rules, but it was kind of fun. I mean, come on. Now then, back to actually reviewing. Where details matter and certain effects come in, they're really good, again because of that tweeter. There was a good sense of spatial presence, separation, and going back to that detail retrieval, you could really hear things going on. But voices could sometimes be a little artificial because, again, we're talking about that mid-range issue. And so that could sometimes take me out of it. But at least in games, which I did play a lot on these for some reason, a little bit more than I do on other things, the detail effects were super helpful. And that is always a massive part of immersion, where you feel like you can close your eyes and somewhat hear where something is. And not quite, but almost play the game that way. And these did that pretty well. I'm really curious to see just how much better that experience would be in a future version or revision as Percy makes some changes to the woofer. Now we're getting into the last part of my review here, and this is going to be about the cabinetry itself. And I think this is by far the greatest strength of this speaker. Percy's cabinets are so overbuilt, so solid, so hefty, so heavy, that it's probably among the most integrous bookshelf or stand mount speaker that I've encountered. And I know I said something like that earlier, but it bears worth repeating. Just the bookshelf or speaker unit itself, not counting the stand, was like 60 pounds. And he also shared with me some really cool photos of the design and build process. So We're going to take a look at those together, and I'm going to share a few highlights of that because there's literally concrete inside these things. It's incredible. I can't think of anyone else who was able to build such a professional operation out of his own home and produce a product of this caliber for his essentially first version just about anywhere. Granted, it's taken him a couple years to get here, but still, this is the first version, and this is how good it already is, especially this build. That's really something. And that's going to be a wrap. Thanks for joining me, everybody. The Praiseworthy Speaker is a very cool and unique product coming to this industry, and I can't wait to see how Percy continues to develop it, and I think you guys should all stay tuned as well. Be seeing you.